Welcome back to another episode, and today we're going to be talking about tips for first-time buyers in order to start planning and to get ahead of the game. Really cracking opportunity if you're tuning in to find out 5 key things that you can do to start planning for buying your first home. Doesn't matter whether it's going to be in the next 3 months, 6 months, 2 years. There's tips in this video that can help. So the first tip is all around your deposit. So understanding that the saving up for a deposit isn't just about putting money down on the property. If you're saving for the deposit, it shows that you're able to plan and budget to a lender, because that's going to be key to them for when they're assessing your income and outgoings. Let's just use an example. If you're at home living with your parents, and while you're living with your parents, you haven't been able to save any money, how do you think that's going to look from a lender's point of view when you go and try and buy a house using a gift from your parents? If you haven't been paying household bills, you haven't been paying food, utilities, gas, electric, home insurance, life insurance, all of these additional costs, if you don't have any savings just now, how's that going to work when you move into your new home? So think about it like that. So if you are saving up money, it's not just about putting the money away for the deposit. It's about being able to show a lender that you are able to budget. If you're renting, it's a little bit different, because if you're renting it, you're already paying these things. You're often paying these things at a higher premium. Take rent, for example. It's likely that you could be paying a higher rent than what it would be on your mortgage. So being able to save is a little bit more difficult. But if you are living at home, then take those tips into consideration. Also, the level of deposit will play a part. If you're going in to put in a 5% deposit, it's higher risk to a lender with 5% deposit. So if you've got a history of not paying your bills, lenders are going to look at this thinking, you're not paying your bills currently, you don't currently own anywhere, or you're not renting, so you're living with parents and your parents are paying for your deposit. Lenders are looking at that thinking, well, this maybe isn't the right thing for you at this point in time. So showing that you built that money up on your own, you're making your payments on time, and you've got good credit, you'll be more likely to be approved for it. But the higher deposit that you've got, the risk is reduced to the lenders. So if you've got 10% or more, there's less risk to the lenders that you're not going to be able to afford it, because the interest rates are lower and you've shown that you can build up a larger amount of funds over a period of time. The next thing that I would consider, and do this as early in the process as you can and continue to assess it, is to assess your affordability. Check your budget, check the running costs of a house, so things like the council tax, gas and electrics, insurances, life insurances, all of these kind of things, take them into consideration when planning your budget. And also, let's not forget, there's 2 elements to affordability. There's how much it's going to cost you each month and how much that you're willing to pay. And then there's how much a lender's actually willing to give you. 2 key things that you need to establish. Maybe you can afford it, the lender might think you can. And if the lender thinks you can afford it, you might not be willing to pay that amount of money. So there's 2 elements there that you need to overcome. What you could do is explore what additional options are out there for you. So if you don't have a lifetime ISA, certainly something that you should be considering. If you're not planning to be buying your first house within the next 12 months, get your ISA opened, stick £1 in it. And what the government would then do with this account is they'd give you a top up. Already did episodes on this, so check my page for more information on them. Some really handy tips on it, but my advice is to certainly explore the options of getting this opened up. It's free money from the government, essentially. And then you've got the option of the LIFT scheme here in Scotland, which is essentially a scheme for low-income households to help support you get onto the property ladder and buy a house that you wouldn't be able to afford without it. Check that one out as well, and I've also done previous episodes on that. In regards to when's the right time to get advice, I would suggest that you get advice early. Get a plan put in place, whether it's a year or 2 before you move in. Recently, I managed to get a mortgage sorted out for someone who'd reached out to me over 2 years ago. And in the same week, I managed to get a mortgage sorted for someone that I was working with for over a year, just through things like being there to review home reports for them, being there to answer questions, just while they're building up all of their savings. So my advice is get involved with the process early, understand what it is that you need to do, and get a plan put in place. And the final tip that I'm going to be giving you is all around credit. So I touched on it at the start of the video, but managing your credit responsibly is going to be key. Pay your bills on time. Don't go over any of your credit limits. Don't use credit limits for gambling. So if you've got an overdraft facility that you're always using and then you're going to paddy power, don't do that. Lenders don't like it. And then the final thing that I would say, which is really important, especially if you've already started the process, don't take out any credit agreements. Any other credit agreements that you take is going to impact your chances of getting a mortgage, because the lenders have already looked at your credit. And based on what they've looked at and what they've seen, they might be saying yes. Any additional credit could stop that from happening. I hope you found this useful. As always, if you've got any questions or any topics that you want me